Dragon Age the Veilguard is being accused of openly hating white people. Wrote this up over at fandompulse.com, which you can find the link in the description below. I encourage you to become a subscriber and become a paid subscriber to help support us in our journalistic endeavors, where we will continue to be bringing you the truth, the unfettered truth that will not be hampered by ad partners and Google that try to suppress the truth. So YouTuber Endymion is the one who made these accusations after not only completing the game, but he says that he's platinumed it as well. In a recent video upload, he said this: everything in Veilguard is gay, trans, and hates white men exclusively. I've said this before, but it's unfortunately true. So obviously he does say hates white men exclusively. I think as we'll get through this here, it's just white people in general, because it hates both white men and white women. And he explains why he believes this. He says every single villain in this game is either a white man or woman. They also make every faction be led by either a woman, like in the case of the Grey Wardens, or the Antivan Crows, which are led by a black elf woman and some other guy. By the way, no single faction in this game is ran by a single man, and especially not a single white man either. The Shadow Dragons are led by a man and a trans man. The Veil Jumpers, which I assume is a woman, the Veil Jumpers are led by an Asian and black elf. By the way, the Asian elf who leads the Veil Jumpers was previously in a relationship with Balara, your companion, and the black elf whose name is Strife. If you don't romance Emmerich, the Necromancer, Strife and Emmerich end up being in a relationship as well. So the Veil Jumpers leaders are not only very diverse, but they're both gay as well. The Morn Watch is led by a brown woman and a shadow ghost apparition thing. So he basically lays down all the leaders of the factions and makes it abundantly clear that there aren't really any white people leading these factions whatsoever. Obviously, these factions being helping you as the protagonist in your war against these elf gods or whatever in the game. He then reiterated this. Endymion did. Like I said, none of the factions are led by white men at all. Everything is either gay-coded or female-led. The Grey Wardens are led by a heterosexual couple, but when you look at them, come on, it's ridiculous. It's a dwarf woman and a French accent elf guy who looks like he came out of the movie Ratatouille. These two do not scream Grey Wardens at all. They look like children. He absolutely is 100% on point with this Ratatouille reference here. This looks like the main character from Ratatouille, the main human character from Ratatouille. Like I said, the entire game is like this. He didn't stop there, though. He went on and referenced another part of the game. He says, white men are always the bad guy, like in Treviso, where the Antivan Crows reside. There's a traitor that is kind of hinted at early on in the story that is working with the Antam Kunari to, place the power of the Kunari over the city. And it's so obvious it's the governor. And surprise, it is exactly. And of course, when you look at him, what is he? Of course, he's a white man. And of course, you kill him in combat during the Treviso final faction mission. And everyone basically says, oh, that guy sucks. And we're glad he's dead. Like I said, this entire game, I kid you not, hates white people openly. It's disgusting. It's so obviously done on purpose. Yes, I mean, we knew this from the very beginning. I mean, they told us this back in 2022. They did this whole developer story with the man who is pretending to be a woman, calls himself Corrine Bush, where he said that the entire Dragon Age franchise is very inherently queer. We knew this was coming from the get-go. They made it clear 2 years ago. 2 years ago, they said that this was going to happen. And then everything we've seen leading up to this has all been about the various tentacles of woke ideology, whether that be feminism, whether that be transgenderism, whether that be identity politics. They've got the scar is in the character creator, the top surgery scars in the character creator. They talked about their companions all being pansexual. They talked about how if you don't choose to romance certain companions, those companions are going to go and do their own things, and they're clearly going to be engaging in disordered, degenerate, disgusting, filthy behavior. And that's clearly what Endymion is saying here when he references what the necromancer Emmerich, if you don't quote unquote romance him, which only women should be romancing him. If you're playing a male character, you should not be romancing the male character, because again, that's disordered. But if you don't romance him, he ends up with this other elf character, and they're clearly in a disordered relationship. And this is what this game is trying to promote. It is trying to promote these disordered relationships. And at the same time, it all obviously acts as a humiliation ritual. We'll get into some experts, I think, that break this down very clearly. But let's get back to Endymion here, because he goes on and points to another instance of this. He says every faction is led by trans or gay people, and every bad guy is a white man or woman. Even Nev Gallus' story, she fights a woman named Elio. Gee, I wonder what she is. Oh, that's right. She's also a white woman because of course she is. He then pointed out the game's agenda again. He says the problem is that they go out of their way to ensure that everything is as diverse as possible while ensuring that the villain's traits are only coded single-handedly into white men and white women exclusively. It's very evident that the game here has an agenda. And what's the likelihood that every single person in power who's a good guy in this game is either gay, trans, or non-binary for the most part? And yet none of the villains that you face are trans, gay, or non-binary either. They're all straight and very clearly white. So this is not surprising, right? The Hollywood has been doing this stuff for years now. Brian Niemeyer pointed this out in an excellent blog post, which I highly recommend you read. Obviously, we've got it linked here on the article at Fandom Pulse. I will provide the link in the description below so you can read that as well. But he says this: Hollywood learned through long trial and error to make the protagonist as likable and relatable to audiences as possible. The idea is to make audiences identify with the hero. So in Dragon Age, obviously, the hero has all of these companions, and these companions are obviously engaging in all of this disordered behavior. They want you to view this disordered, degenerate, evil behavior as good because they're the heroes, right? That's exactly what they're trying to do. And so that obviously is here in Dragon Age: The Veilguard. But Niemeyer also says this: nowadays, the studios have turned this approach on its head. The contemporary movie protagonist, I think we can fill in video game protagonist as well, is an utterly inhuman Mary Sue with no compelling reason to pursue a goal since she's already said to be perfect. Instead, she uses her screen time to deliver a series of lectures on death cult pieties. And we see that in Dragon Age: The Veilguard 2. They use the character of Tosh to do that, talking about how she is quote-unquote non-binary. It obviously appears that there's a bunch of other instances in this as well. Obviously points to the fact that this governor is getting killed in this scene in this moment in Treviso as well. So it looks like it's happening all over the game, and completely unsurprising given how they had marketed this game and what they had shown us of it and told us about it. Again, that is not the conditioning, Niemeyer says. That is a humiliation ritual meant to rub the remaining fans' noses in it. And that's exactly what the Tosh thing is. It's to humiliate you. It's like, we're in charge. We run this now. We have taken your toy and taken a dump on it. And now you're going to have to play with that toy that has cow crap on it or human feces on it. Like, they want you to play with a toy that has human feces on it. That is what these people want, and they relish in you trying to play with that. Well, we're not doing that, obviously. To talk about this quite often. They're the ones now stuck with a toy with feces on it because we aren't actually playing this, because we're rejecting this humiliation ritual that they want us to participate in. But that's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to get you to participate in a humiliation ritual because it's all about power, which we'll get to here in a little bit. And Niemeyer goes on and says the condition came before that, and the way it happened was by Hollywood churning out decades of movies wherein heroes whom audiences identified with achieved their goals by acting according to the death cult's morals. And obviously kind of reference that and how these companions engage in all of this degenerate, disordered behavior, and they're trying to convince you that it is good and have it be normalized in your mind, because these companions in Dragon Age are doing it, so it's totally fine if people are doing it out here in the real world. It's not fine in either case. So science fiction novelist Isaac Young puts it a different way. It's very similar, but he says it a little bit different. And I like both of these perspectives here. And he says this: the problem is that there is no longer anything behind Hollywood's politics, only power and those who wield it. There is no religious piety, no transcendental belief, no ideas of right and wrong, no vision of the future, no philosophy, no history, no metaphysics, no style, nor substance, no reckoning with God or hell or hope or fear or love or death. Not one honest belief that is anything other than you're a racist, and so we deserve to be in charge. Again, I think that goes back to that humiliation ritual. We're in charge now. We're going to watch you play with a toy that we crapped on because we're in charge, and you're going to have to play with that because we have the power. And I think that is what Isaac is getting at here. The great gods of identity politics only exist to serve the left's material desires and will incarnate to whatever form that best serves that task. This is why every historical figure was secretly gay and also black as well. This is why women eternally oppressed by the patriarchy, but men are also women. That is why no matter how hard conservatives yell, hypocrites, no leftist will ever change his, her, its mind about anything. He later added, It can't say anything substantive because that would pose a threat to itself. To make any claim about the world that does not immediately serve the vulgar desires of its creators is to create a standard which might be turned on them, an alternate view which someone might voice their objections. And I think that is 100% the case with Dragon Age: The Veilguard. This game was created by the man who claims to be, who uses the name Corrine Bush and his team over there at BioWare to basically push his transgender, queer, gay agenda into this game, into the zeitgeist. Fortunately, the game has literally died. The sales on this are absolutely abysmal. Demian reports that his source claims that they've only sold 500,000 copies. There have been at least 30,000 refunds. That was affirmed by another source who spoke with Smash JT. So people are saying no to this. And when they, even if they took a chance on it, as we saw, the 30,000 people took a chance, they're like, they see what it is, and they're like, absolutely not. Give me my money back. I do not want any part of this. So I'm glad that we're seeing that. Glad we're seeing low sales. Glad we're seeing all of those high refunds because it's showing that people are not interested in this stuff anymore. They are realizing how destructive these ideologies are. They're realizing that the people that are making these games hate them and that they are trying to subject them to not only political propaganda and lectures, but also to these disgusting humiliation rituals at the altar of their power. And we are showing them that they no longer have that power by closing our wallets. And we're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to do that. But I'm glad people aren't buying this because everything we've seen about this game has just been absolutely disastrous. And them hating white people is not surprising at all. That is basically one of the uniting factors of a lot of the woke coalition is to hate whitey. That's all of their colonialist rhetoric that they use. It's all about hating white people. It's sick. It's disgusting. And it's evil. It's absolutely evil because they're just hating people just based on their skin color. And that's what EA produced. That is what BioWare produced. That is what this company produced. It's disgusting. It's evil. And I hope they pay the price sooner rather than later. But let me know what you guys make of Endemian's accusations here regarding Dragon Age: The Veilguard. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, and to always, always speak the truth.